So just to get a different perspective of several perspectives on Ashtanga, I'm going to ask Brihat, my friend and monk, his experience of Ashtanga. And so the first limb is the yamas. So what is it that you would say overall about the yamas, without getting into the distinctions? And then, a quick dive into the distinctions to talk about what's important, what you need to look out for, maybe some of your own personal journey. So, first of all, what would you say is the overview?
So, the Ashtanga yoga process, you want to aspire for ascending, basically. And the Ashtanga process itself is step by step, these 8 steps that you go through to attaining samadhi, which can also be described as being completely absorbed in trance, with source. So when you start this process, you want to prepare yourself for this path. So the yama and also the niyama, they're relating to that, where you want to adopt a specific lifestyle that will allow you to manifest certain qualities in your consciousness that you will need when you start meditating. Because if you just start meditating, everyone is always meditating. Meditation just means you're focusing on something.
Yes.
So you want to adjust your lifestyle so it's easier for you to detach from things you don't want to meditate on, and so you can focus it on source eventually. So the yama and the niyama processes is that you live a certain lifestyle that allows you to adopt qualities or to manifest qualities in your consciousness, such as equanimity, such as
Which
compassion.
means?
Equanimity means to being equal, because the yogi
To what?
traditionally
Equal to what?
to all external influences.
Everything.
Yeah, and even internal. Whatever's in your mind might throw at you, or it gets hot, it gets cold. You're feeling uncomfortable or comfortable, and not to be swayed by them, and just to be like completely in the center, and fixed in your yoga.
And what do you mean by yoga?
By yoga meaning the pursuit to attain in yoga. Yoga means union with the divine. Yeah.
Awesome. So with the yama specifically, what do you want to say something about each category, or do you want to speak about them as a whole, or how does it live for you? Like, what was your process, maybe?
So
Where did you start?
well, I was okay. The way the Ashtanga yoga process is practiced within the Bhakti tradition is that one doesn't waste one's energy. So brahmacharya essentially means not wasting energy, meaning that all your energy you're spending in such a way which will assist your union with the divine, which means it will progress your path on the path of yoga.
So the things that we focus on and believe and feel that create separation from our oneness with self and our connection with everything.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, for example, brahmacharya, the idea of being completely celibate, it's a practice of self-control, but it's also a practice of conserving one's energy, which is called the ojas, or the life force, also called the chi. Ki. It's just conserve this energy so you can utilize it for elevating your consciousness instead of procreating or just having a good time. And then there's, for example, ahimsa, non-violence, which is linked to the principle of compassion, that with your union with the whole, one also comes to realize that everybody is actually connected to source. And by acting violently against any being, one is actually acting violently against oneself, and this is detrimental to one's path.
Yes.
To actually have union with the source.
I think what's interesting about that is how subtle that violence or non-violence becomes. So, when people think about violence, I think they think about physical attack. So, give an example of what's the subtler experiences of violence and non-violence.
So we understand there's physical abuse, but then there's also emotional abuse. And emotional abuse also has a lot of different categories. It can even just be due to some precepts you have of a person, due to some experience, one is projecting a judgment on a person. and that's an act of violence actually, because it's a negative energy which harms the person. Like a thought is a thing that can do stuff,
Yes.
and like a stone, you can pick it up and you can throw it,
Yes.
and it can harm a person.
So having negative thoughts, having judgments about other people or yourself, is himsa.
It's himsa.
Yes.
It's act of violence.
So, what else you say? And there I just wanted to pull out a little bit further when you talked about that this energy, this negative thought about another, and it has an effect. Most people would think that you actually have to act on it, that you actually have to say something or do something for it to have an effect of violence. Is that, or is it more subtle than that? Can you just be holding those energies and you're doing, well, the fact that you're holding it, violent feelings is violence to yourself, I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree. And the way to actually adopt the principle of ahimsa, the two aspects of it. It's one is that what we are doing is an expression of what's inside. But also by changing what we do, it helps to change what's inside. So for example, just changing your diet to be vegetarian, in due course, it will naturally make your heart more compassionate. So
Tell me about that.
Which is a bit easier than if you try and go inside in your meditation and change
And
it
try
on
and
subtle
make a
level.
change
Yes.
mentally, and
Exactly.
as opposed to just change what your diet is, which is a form of violence.
Exactly.
And that the energy will change itself.
It's true.
Wow, that's
And it's
interesting.
more
I've
easy.
never had anybody say that to me before.
Huh.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because it works both ways.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. Like having to manhandle your feelings and thinking and stuff isn't always necessary. There's usually an easier way to do things.
Yeah.
And that's a really good example
So
of
by
that.
doing and at the same time, when you change that, you also try to get control of your mind and your feelings. But by externally, just changing diet, it will be easier to accomplish that. So the two do affect each other. So you're still projecting that intent that I want to adopt this non-violence principle. I want to be more compassionate and send out good energy. So, and by changing certain externals, so that's basically what in yoga, why there are rules and regulations that one follow. That even if one doesn't feel it in the heart, that the idea is that by following these things, it assists the heart in developing in a certain way, which is conducive for the path of yoga.
It's conducive to compassion, creates compassion.
Yeah. So therefore, one should also understand what the heart should become. So, but if you just externally become vegetarian, you can still be an asshole. And there are vegetarians who are assholes, and they're still violent.
Yes, yes, it's very true.
Yeah, so that meditation still has to be there, that I want to be non-violent and I'm doing this because I want my heart to become like that.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. Is
Yeah.
you have to know. This is what you said. You have to know where you want your heart. What you want your heart to become.
Exactly.
What did you? So what did you want your heart to become?
Well, we want it to become pure.
And that means.
Pure means essentially that you're completely in sync with source.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
But what's pure? What? Because your heart
Okay.
physically is a
Okay.
muscle and some
Okay.
blood. So what?
Okay, you want to become freed from unwanted qualities. You want to develop qualities which on the path of yoga, which is related to the niyamas.
Let me ask you-
cleanliness.
Okay, so I get those qualities. What is the quality of pureness? So not how you get there,
Okay.
and not what the opposite is.
Complete freedom from envy.
Yeah.
And from envy, lust arises, violence arises, needing to control arises, because we have envy in our hearts. And it's out of envy, basically, that the consciousness has been covered and thinks itself to be separate from source. Which is, in a very, very subtle way, is the whole manifestation of this universe, is to facilitate the little soul to express its envy.
When you use the word envy, it sounds like to me that how I would use the word want. Is that like wants or desires? Or are you using envy specifically as I'm envious of?
Yeah, I would say unhealthy desires, not just desire. Unhealthy desires. It's like we desire to act in a way which is not natural for us.
So you call it envy just so that you don't have to say unhealthy desires. You can just say envy, and then that covers it for you.
Yeah, but also the whole what envy is also a really deep discussion. You can have
I'm
discussion on what it is and where it stems from originally.
Yes. Yep.
And when we're talking about us, we're talking about us as spiritual beings, not as us as human beings.
Yes.
Because we're not human beings. We're spiritual beings in a human body, having a human experience.
Yes.
And so the envy is on the level of the soul, the spirit soul. And so this envy, I can just define it as It's this wanting to experience separateness from source,
Why?
because it's got its own free will.
And
It can desire what it wants
yes, it does. But why does it want to desire separateness from?
because it wanted to.
True.
That's free will.
I thought it'd be deeper than that.
That's free will. It's the fact that you can desire what you want.
Yeah.
Even you can desire something which is stupid.
Mm.
Otherwise,
Oh.
free will doesn't have meaning if you can't use it in a way which is not good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're forced in a thing. And
Yeah,
that's not
and
free
then you don't
will.
have a choice.
So
yeah.
free will means you can misuse it and become mad.
No, I've got that.
Yeah.
I got that part of it. But it's like you said specifically, is that what we choose to do is separate from source. I just thought what was the mechanism that actually?
So the craziness from that is that you can't be separate from source. How is that possible?
We illusionarily create it for
We
ourselves
think
rather
we are.
well.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not possible.
Mm.
I would say maybe the origin from it is that because in this union with source, there's also this exchange of love and that's happening, and sometimes the part might feel that why I should always be giving. Why can't I be the source? Why can't I be in the center?
Mm.
Why do I just have to be a part of everything? I want to be the whole, the source.
Yeah.
And then out of this it arises, and then it wants to experience separatedness, so it can create this illusion that in fact I'm not just a part of everything, that I am source.
Yes. And then that's where we get into superiority. If you ask me.
exactly. It's
That's
like
and
so
that's
you could say
see, yeah.
superiority complex, and interesting to see. That's also a typical like patriarchal thing. So this whole material universe is actually a patriarchal system.
Mm.
So when you see it on this planet, it's not really a surprising thing because it's the nature of a conditioned living being to want to feel superior, and basically which is I want to be the man. Like,
Well, yeah, well, that's part of it, but I see superiority when I was talking about earlier about my take on ahimsa, is that human beings in all their interactions, and they're not treating each other as a peer, and that you have your own perception of reality, and you're doing what you're doing for a reason, even if I don't understand or even if I disagree with it, but having compassion to allow you your experience. And then, but what people do instead is they go, I have a superior view of reality and what everybody should be doing, and you're not measuring up to what my thought is. And that's how superiority works into that for me.
Yeah.
So, same.
Yeah, it's described in the Yoga Sutras that there are three levels of consciousness, or you could say qualification of consciousness, which adhikar is a Sanskrit which means like qualification, which is there's the Kanishta adhikar, which is like a neophyte level. It's just like they're just like beginners. Madhyam means middle, and then Uttama means like beyond the temporary. Uttama means also beyond tamas, like technically, which means superior. So somebody who's like on that level, the way they see everything that is perfectly the way it should be. Even different living entities which are on different levels of consciousness. So they just see this is all perfect. I
Yes.
don't need to interfere with
Yes.
anything. Even the living beings who are in complete illusion, they feel everything is the way it must
It
be.
is. Well, they are where they are, and they are exactly where they are. And
Yeah.
if they knew better, they would do better. So he sees that instead of seeing that you should be in a different place based on some template of how things should be, I see them in their actual journey and can allow them to be
Yeah.
exactly perfectly in nature as their nature
Exactly.
currently.
So that's how they perceive it.
Yeah.
And out of their
So
choice,
who is this? Who are we talking
it's
about?
called the Uttama Adhikar.
One more time.
Uttama Adhikari.
Okay. And what does that mean?
It means Adhikari means like qualification, and Uttama means like topmost or
Or-
completely transcendental. It's like
okay.
ascended masters.
Being able to see. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we're done himsa, so what about truth? What is your
I would say
experience?
truthfulness is basically not just the pursuit for truth or an absolute knowledge, but also the mood of being unbiased in one's pursuit of that.
Yes.
Because
Unbiased
un-
to,
un-
like, give an example of what you're unbiased to.
it means you try to see things for what they are without your own precepts and
or
without
wants
being,
or needs or whatever,
Exactly.
however you're fooling yourself.
like you want it to be this, and then you make yourself see it
See the
like that
truth.
so you
Yeah.
can believe it.
Well, of course.
But that might not be the truth.
Yeah.
But if you're really after the truth, you don't care what it is, you want it, and
Yeah.
you don't care what you have to give up
To
or
get
what
there.
ideas you
because,
need to change.
Because if you have to change things to get to the truth or to live in the truth, there's rewards there.
Yeah.
Every reward you want is there. So whatever you think you're fighting for, or how you're lying to yourself, or how you're not dealing in the truth in some kind of way, is just causing you pain in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So some people don't want the truth,
No, they don't.
even if they say they do. Hey brother.
And that's fine.
Yeah, because that's their free will.
And
That's
and
basically.
that is their journey. Anything specifically for you that you struggled with, or that was really easy for you in regards to truth? With your many years of experience, is there anything that you
Well,
can
I'd
share?
say truthfulness. I think from previous lives, by nature, I'm like very, like inquisitive,
Hmm.
and in my kind of analysis of things, I'm just by nature, I think, you know,
Curious,
unbiased.
unbiased.
Yeah,
Are you more
unbiased.
interested in what the real nature of something
Exactly.
is, as opposed to anything so you don't look from the place of how does this benefit me? You look from the place of
What is
what
it?
is the nature of this?
What is it exactly?
Okay.
And I don't care if I need to do something painful, like giving up something. Like you invest years into developing some thesis, and after some time you get some information, you realize I have to
It's
discard this,
all
and it can
nonsense.
be painful.
That can
But
be
I
very
don't care
painful.
because I want the truth.
Yes, I'm the same way. Well, I appreciate that. That was a really nice. I'm glad you asked you that.
So it's not just like having knowledge, real knowledge, but it's also a mood that you develop, so you can
Hmm.
actually acquire the real knowledge
Hmm.
and identify it.
So being non-biased is one, but also being truthful with yourself about who you are and what you're feeling and
And
what's
where
going
you're
on with
at
you. Yeah,
exactly,
and
what's inside,
what's
and
inside and what you have to deal with,
yes,
as opposed to pretending like it's not there, and
exactly.
then just being surprised when you end up acting out in a particular way and going, oh well, gee, and it just happened.
I didn't know. It
Yeah.
was the
Okay, and Satya, is that how you pronounce that?
Asteya.
What? No, no,
Oh, Satya. Yeah, Satya
Satya.
is truth.
Okay, Anastasia, non-stealing. That one should be fairly um, clear and easy, but it's not. If there's subtleties to non-stealing as well.
Yeah, another way they describe it is also non-possessiveness, which is also kind of there,
Hmm.
and then they relate it.
Yes. So non-stealing. What's the first thing that comes up? Obviously, you're not going to steal anything from anybody that's a possession.
Yeah, it's understanding the truth that nothing belongs to us. Like the first mantra of the Ishupanishad, which is one of the foremost of the Upanishads. It says, yeah, I forgot the Sanskrit now, but the English translation is
Thank
saying.
God. I feel so much better. Oh my God, I feel
I
better.
wanted to sound cool now, just quoting some Sanskrit, and it totally just like
You have so much Sanskrit. I
went
think
out of my mind.
we'll have plenty.
So, but what it says is that everything, animate and inanimate, is controlled and owned by source,
Mm.
and that and that we should understand that and only take that which is necessary for our sustenance,
Yes.
and not accept more, knowing well who they belong to.
Okay.
Because we all have our quota for what we need as being given by source,
Yes.
and everything actually belongs to source. So even everything we get, we don't shouldn't feel this is mine.
Yeah.
This idea of I and mine is ego.
Yes.
So nothing is mine.
Uh huh.
Everything, nothing belongs to me. Something
So
that's
you can
just been
get your
given in my care.
you can get your needs taken care of,
Yeah,
and that's been given you
yeah,
as a gift.
yeah. It is like that.
And then wanting more, you have to really question
Like
about what's.
poverty is there because people are taking more than what's allocated to them.
Hmm.
So they're taking what's actually supposed to be for others.
Yeah, and we've created a society that's based on that.
Yeah,
I would say service to self is what I'd call that. So it's a few of these things
Yeah.
mixed together.
So you see in devotees' books, they never write this. They say in the care of, and then they write their name. So
Uh-huh.
this book is in the care of so
Oh,
and so.
okay.
Means
So it's
not
never
my book,
theirs.
it's
Yeah,
not my
I
book.
get that.
Yeah. Or my family's in my care now, or my friends, or whatever, my car.
Cute. Okay, so and then about stealing, I've heard some people talk about non-stealing as I don't want to steal, like people are speaking, and that speaking too much or taking too much, taking
Oh.
somebody else's time, and like stealing attention, stealing stealing other people's
Being like
experience
an
or
energy
contribution.
vampire.
Yeah, okay. What do you think that, like, is there anything? I don't really. I mean, I don't really hold it that way, but did you? How do you feel about that?
Oh, on the path of yoga, you want to become detached to the temporary.
Mm,
So, if you're not adopting this principle, it's kind of counterproductive
mm,
because you keep drawing things to you, but you want to become detached.
mm.
So at least you should stop creating new attachments before you can start becoming detached
Mm.
from things you don't want to be attached to.
Okay, that's a good
So
way
it's-
around
yeah,
that.
so
Yeah,
it makes
I
sense.
don't hold it in that way because I didn't find it doesn't provide me any utility about how some people speak about it. So I wanted to see how, and I enjoy your answer. Okay, so devotion.
Brahmacharya.
Acharya. Is that what that? What does that mean?
Brahmacharya.
What does that mean exactly?
It means it's two words, Brahma, Acharya. Acharya means activity or to act,
Yes.
and Brahma in this case
Yes.
means spirit. So it means acting on the spiritual platform.
I was going to say godly, but it's spiritual. Okay.
Yeah, a spiritual godly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
acting godly, which would mean that is, serving others.
and somebody who's on the Brahman platform is beyond the dictations of the body and the mind. So therefore, they're able, as a consequence, they celibate because they don't feel this is very important. They'd
Yes.
rather use that energy for something spiritual.
Yes.
So,
How about people that choose not to? Like, I'm not celibate, for example. What is? Sometimes I feel like in my life I
It
am
is-
celibate, but I'm actually not. So how do you feel about that?
Well, according to Bhagavad Gita, which is a commentary on the Yoga Sutras, Ashtanga Yoga, Gyan Yoga, and Karma Yoga, celibacy is a prerequisite. It's not
But how about
negotiable.
how do you feel? Yes, so those are the writings. How do you personally feel about people like me? So do you think like it's like, oh, shame, or is it? How do you feel about it? Is it? I know it's a choice, and I know I'm on my journey.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
But is there any other? Because most of the people that are going to be listening to this aren't going to be celibate, or
course.
certainly not by choice. So what are your words to them?
I would say that without being celibate, you can definitely progress on the path, but you can't complete it. You can't, because at some stage you have to give up sex life eventually.
Can it be like on the end? Can it be like the last thing I do before I turn into light?
I don't think we'll come there. It will, because imagine because you're preparing yourself. After these yama niyama, you have asana. You're just loosening up your body basically.
Yeah.
Because you're preparing yourself to sit for a very long time. By the way, this yoga process is actually prescribed for the Satya Yuga age, which is the first age, which is we're in the fourth age now at the end of the cycle.
Okay.
And in the Satya Yuga age, people lived up to 100,000 years, and they needed long lifetime to practice. So there's instances of yogis who sat meditation for 60,000 years. With their pranayama practice, they could actually keep the breath for like incredible amount of time. And so now you're preparing your body to sit for a long time. So now if you're sitting and you're meditating, and you're getting sexually agitated, you can't.
Or
you can't
thinking about
meditate.
having thoughts about.
You're gonna sit like for there's some statistics that says like the average man thinks about sex like once every few minutes.
Yes.
Maybe it's probably more frequently.
Yeah.
So now if you're sitting and after 1 minute,
Minute you're like
this thought comes in,
distraction.
and then maybe you do it for 1 hour, and then something else happens and you get agitated.
Okay.
And even the descriptions of yogis, and this is a very strong urge and a very difficult one to control. And people who by the force of their power accumulated from austerity, they sometimes still succumb. Like in the Puranas, they describe many instances of very powerful yogis who had meditated for many years, and like this one, he preferred to meditate under water in the ocean because there's less disturbances. And he just saw some fish copulate in front of him, and his mind just went on a tangent, and he couldn't control himself. After 60 years of yoga meditation,
Wow.
60,000 years, sorry.
Wow.
And he got out and he went and married, and he made wives and he enjoyed. But afterwards he realized, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah.
And he detached himself again, and he went into his
Back-
yoga process.
yes.
But the point is, it's a very, very difficult thing to control by force,
Yes.
which is in the Ashtanga yoga process. It's basically done by force. You force yourself to not entertain those thoughts, and which is also why you need, like in the niyama, they have like cleanliness, for example. And cleanliness is also cleanliness of mind, which also means you don't think lustily. So it's also you keep your body physically clean. Because it helps. Say cleanliness is next to godliness.
Well, yes.
So it helps for elevation of consciousness. So therefore, brahmacharya, they do that because you want to control your senses.
Something that's specific to brahmacharya and cutting off the senses. And that's different than, say, Buddhism, for example. So you're going inside, so you're actually cutting yourself off from the world. Is that accurate for you?
Yeah, basically, eventually, when you get to the pranayama stage afterwards, it's a pratyahara stage, which you do exactly that.
Okay.
Yeah, which we'll get to
So
at that point.
so this isn't something we're doing here.
This is just preparing you for these things.
Yeah. Okay. So we
Like,
do
and I-
talk
and I-
about it.
And I can say certain things. I've been practicing brahmacharya for almost 6 years now,
Yes.
and that the amount of shakti that you're able to generate is incredible, and how you're able to control your mind and subdue your mind. That your mind doesn't run off anywhere. That it goes where you want it
Yeah.
to go, and it doesn't have much leeway to go anywhere else, which is quite liberating because
Yeah.
the mind stops
You
thinking
don't
a lot
have
of
to
crap.
go. You don't have to go running around.
Yeah.
How I equate that is just like a big dog that's like two stories high, and you put the leash on that you can't get your arm out, and it takes you for a run
Yeah.
over the yards, into the garbage,
Yeah.
around, and you have no control over it till it takes you
Exactly.
home at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then maybe you can sleep. So that's how I feel it.
Yeah, there's a picture in the Vedas described as the relationship between the soul, its astral body, and the physical body. How you have these five horses which represent each of the senses, and the reins of the horse is the mind, and the driver of this chariot is your intelligence, and the passenger is the soul, the spirit soul. And if the intelligence is weak, then he lets go of the reins, and these senses, they just go wherever they want, and the mind follows.
Yes.
And that's what's happening. Like you smell something, and the senses, nose says that's nice, the tongue says I want to eat that, the mind says okie dokie. and then the mind says, tells the intelligence, figure out how I'm going to get this. So then the intelligence becomes subdued by the mind. But with strong intelligence, which one gets by reading transcendental knowledge, but also by learning how to restrain oneself. The intelligence goes above, and the intelligence says, no, I'm on this path of yoga, I want to attain ascension. So therefore, mind, you do this, and then the mind tells the senses, okay, you go this way.
My experience of that is with fears. Is that if I'm having a fear and I know that that's not what my mind has a fear, there's a reaction, there's a triggering, and I will go, or a reaction, and I will go, no, that's not. This is a fear. There's all this energy that wants to go in a particular direction.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not going that way. I don't believe in fears. That's not taking me anywhere I want to go. And being able to. So, what is the truth? And for me, I actually have to come down to. I have to displace that reaction with what the truth is, and it becomes automatic over time. And then I go, okay, so I no longer have to go do that because I'm like, well, that's not going to get me what I want. It's not real. And that in spite of how much pull that initial reaction had, I don't actually have to run and go do those things. Okay, so the last one.
Non-coveting, non-craving, non-possessiveness.
And how would you pronounce that?
Aparigraha. Aparigraha.
Okay, so non-coveting, non-craving, non-possessive, non-greed.
Well, again,
How's that live in your life? Non-greed, I understand. Non-craving, I understand.
it's the same principle that you're preparing yourself for the yoga process. It's like this is actually, you haven't really started yet. You're just making the preparations for it. So you want to adjust your mood in a specific way. So when you approach the meditation, then you already have the right perspective on it. So if you're still trying to be very possessive about things, then how are you going to become detached? So
And everything's running crazy.
Exactly.
You're in control of nothing. You don't even know what you're being, run by, let alone the Maya or the illusion that it's based on. So your life is, pretty much mayhem.
So you want to stop being counterproductive.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then any overview of the yamas or anything else that you?
Well, these things, people like to think that they're open to interpretation in terms of they like to twist in certain ways so that they don't have to adjust themselves, so that they can still feel like, oh no, I'm actually doing what it's saying.
Yes.
But that itself is self-defeating.
Yes.
Because that means, you're not sati, that's not truthfulness.
Yeah.
You're not trying to see it for what it is. You're already coming with a bias that you don't want to change, which means
You're afraid you're going to have
very
to
deep
change.
down inside, your desire is actually not to ascend.
Yes.
Which is kind of a very deeply seated thing. And then also, and if one actually comes to that point, one can then think, okay, oh my God, but why don't I desire that? And then you're actually being very intelligent. And then gradually these things, one can actually become to terms with and realize, actually, these things are good for me, I need them. And if I want to ascend, these things will help me. And I really need to take advantage of these tools
Yes.
to be able to make progress.
I agree. Well, thank you very much. So that's the yamas, and then we'll move on shortly to the niyamas.